lined up.
I'll nominate Chase.
I was gonna nominate Michael.
That's fine. I can do it.
Fix me some
I'm not
water,
afraid.
please. Thank you.
I'd like to call the East Ascension Drainage Meeting to order, January 27th. Looks like Mr. Robert and Mr. Melanson are absent. Mr. Ogeron, would you please lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge?
Yes, thank you.
Everyone, as we prepare ourselves for prayer this evening, I ask that you give special reflection to Nanelle Lambert Brock, the sister of Mr. Dempsey Lambert, who passed away unexpectedly this past weekend. Dear Lord, we ask that you bestow your grace upon each of us, bestow us with your wisdom, and highlight us with an everlasting love for each other and the citizens of Ascension Parish, as we move forward to do your will and the duties that you bestow upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ogeron. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with Ms. Liz. Move on to number 4, the acceptance of minutes for the December 16th meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnny, second by Mr. Aaron. All right, we'll move on to number 5, the election of officers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Dempsey Lambert for chairman.
Second.
Names, any other names? Ms. Secretary, let it be known that Mr. Robert's here. How you doing now? Any other names for chairman? Not? Want to thank everyone, and we'll move right into vice chair. Names
Chair.
for vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Chase Melanson for vice chair.
Second.
Any other names for vice chair? Not? Mr. Melanson would, I'm sure, appreciate that, and he is recovering with the flu, so bless him. Thank you all again. We're going to get right into the work of this. Number 7, the drainage report, Mr. Joy.
We have 2 active projects. One is the Wallace Acres subdivision. To familiarize those that are not familiar with that project, it's kind of a P-shaped, the letter P as far as the roadway alignment in that subdivision. It is a drainage improvement project. The contractor is Mitchell Contracting from Madisonville. They completed about 50% of that work. It had to do with ditch digging, driveway pipe replacement, and then driveway pipe repair. Like I said, they finished about 50% of it, but then it was found out that there's a gas line that's in the way of the rest of the construction. So the utility company, the gas line company, quickly came into play, and they are in the middle, or actually towards the tail end of replacing all the gas lines in that subdivision. Their schedule is about 2 to 3 weeks out. Once they are finished, then the contractor will come back to the site and finish the construction. There are 4 main roadways there. So all 4 roadways in the subdivision will have their driveway pipes replaced and ditches dug to the flow line of the pipes. To let you know how the progress has been going so far, the outfall ditch and outfall pipe to the project has been completed already, and I got a lot of good feedback from the residents there that they've already seen a difference, and we're not finished with the improvements. Another project that's ongoing is Pelican Point Parkway. It's a crossing that was picked out because the roadway was in very poor condition. Court Construction out of Covington is doing that project. They've worked on it very quickly. The roadway that was in poor condition has been removed. The pipe, cross-drain pipe has been replaced. It's been attached to the catch basins. All that's been grouted to where it's a nice sealed drainage system. We cambered the pipes to ensure that the existing pipes in the area are in good condition. That was the remaining pipes that we thought possibly would be in poor condition, but they ended up being in very good condition. So we weren't going to replace anything just because the plan said so. We did check it out, and we're only replacing what's not in good shape. We coordinated with the golf course people, relocated the golf path that was within the construction zone. That work's been done. The roadway removal's been done. The pipe and catch basin work's been done. They've restored the crossing with limestone, which is going to be the permanent base course. Today, they actually poured the curb to the site and the new cart path, which is in the same location, but they made that pour today. The only thing that's remaining for the project is to put asphalt on the roadway surface and to remove that temporary golf path. So I expect that to be done within the month, if not sooner.
Yeah, anything else, Joe?
That's it.
Mr. Joe?
Questions?
Yeah.
On the Pelican Point Parkway, you said all the rest of the existing drainage was in good condition or great
Correct.
condition?
Yes, we
Okay.
hired a company to do the camera work, to look inside of it.
So since we found that, I'm hoping we could move forward and go to the next project, or how are we looking on that? I know they have some sample survey spots going out there. What's our next project in Pelican Point?
I'd
Could I
have to
say-
get back with you on that. I really don't know which, what other project, what's the next one in line?
And when I say next one in line, I mean, it's obviously a huge project encompassing all of Pelican Point, because they have a few fails on the road, but from what I'm hearing tonight, it sounds like it's a lot better condition than we were thinking.
But this location is different. It's not the original Pelican Point part. It was added at a later time period with a different contractor. So I think it's different, than a lot of the others. We know now that we need to do things like camera the existing pipes whenever we go to a crossing to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Okay. And one other thing I wanted to bring to attention, or not bring to attention, obviously, the entrance at Pelican Point. I believe they're having an issue with it caving in, and then they blacktop back on it, and that's what I was told by the HOA the end of last week. Have y'all had any input on that?
I'll have to get back with Miss Marion DeRona on that, I know we did some maintenance work over there to patch it, but I really don't know how much if that's just a temporary fix or if it's a permanent, and we want to lean towards the permanent.
Yes, sir.
It may have been something temporarily, but I need to check into that, and I'll get
Yes,
back.
sir.
with you.
And, if I'll just get with you sometime in the next couple of weeks, if you
Great.
don't mind, we'll get on it.
That
Thank you,
would
sir.
be great.
Mr. Travis?
No questions.
Mr. Corey?
Yes, just one. Mr. Turo, what's the status of the work being done or Province Point subdivision off of Highway 73? Have you guys gotten started with any work there?
I'm not familiar with that. It may be something I can
Okay.
check and get back with you on, but I'm.
Yes, please. Some of the neighbors had said that they've called in several times regarding,
It's on LA 73?
it's right off of 73 between the interstate and airline. The,
Mr. Ogeron, I think it may be leading towards a more routine work order call. I'll reach out to the staff and find out, but I do recall maybe some sinkhole issues in Providence Point.
sinkhole issues, yes, that's correct. The drainage pipes, culverts are
Right, which
draining,
we
sinking.
will probably be bringing to you guys later on at a later meeting, once we get with administration on those issues. With the infrastructure that was not designed, curb and gutter subdivision within there. And so what you have there is over time, residents have filled in the drainage ditches, and now they have deteriorating pipes and infrastructure. So we'll be coming to you guys for a recommendation as how to approach that in the future, because currently some other items will come up. We're going to be looking at some of our policies and procedures as how the best way moving forward to address some of these concerns and the budgets of all of that. So we'll be coming to you very soon with those issues.
Anything I can do to assist and expedite that, please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, how y'all doing? Ron, what was the status of the, I think it was kind of engineering survey type work around Charleston, Jefferson Crossing, Willow Lakes area?
We've got with Keith Capone with Bryant Hammett this week and got a report in from them. They have not come up with a final determination on that. As you know, it's a very complex issue right there. What they're seeing is several filings of drainage plans that all come to the same outfall. So they're taking the different plans and putting all of those studies together to compare to what volume is available downstream. We did go down and see what was the crossing under 73, which might involve some DOTD permitting, and we have to probably get them involved with it as well. And it ultimately goes on to US 61. So I think the capacity may be there, but the ultimate solution is pretty complex, and they're having a little bit of, they want to make sure before they put their stamp on something that it's a viable project.
Okay.
We haven't gotten that back from them yet.
No, thank you very much.
Ms. Terry?
Yes, of course. Ron, any new developments on the Frog Bayou? But I know that Kim's here, so I wondered if there was anything we could do to move that along.
Yes. I had reached out to Mr. Frank, as you know, prior to the holidays, and we were really hoping to have this right-of-way agreement resolved with Mr. Frank by now and moving forward. But he's requested a meeting with our parish president, and Clint's been briefed on everything, and he has reached out to Mr. Frank, and we're waiting to hear back from him. So we did meet earlier, a week or so back, with GSA and the structural engineers and the geotech firm. And there are more needs for more geotech. Now that the progress of the structural engineering plans moving forward, they need more data. But in that, they need some data out of the channel that's proposed. So we actually are going to need to get out on Mr. Frank's property to get that testing done. So we're now starting to get into the progression of the design of the project. So it's going to come to a head soon that we really need to meet and reach out to Mr. Frank and get Mr. Clint and him together to see if we can get a path forward to work with Mr. Frank on this. And certainly PLD's in the loop on it all, and GSA as well. So hopefully in the next week or two, Mr. Frank will reach back out to President, and we'll line up a meeting and hopefully come to terms and move this project forward.
Well, I'm fully aware that for Clint, this has always been a project that he supported, so I certainly look forward to getting Mr. Frank together with Clint. I'm happy to encourage Mr. Frank, if I can, to reach out to Clint again, and I'm sure that between the two of them, they'll find a way.
Yeah, I gave him a call a couple times. I'll call again tomorrow. May just ride out to his house, see if I can catch him. So I'm just trying to get in touch with him, just to set up a
Sure.
meeting. So we're just in that process, waiting to hear back from him.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much.
Mr. Dow?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Johnny?
Ron, just a quick update on Lake Park, Bryant Hammett's study.
Yes, sir. We did hear back from them. I'm requesting now that they've got pretty much all their field work data in, and he's actually met with us a couple of times. We had some right-of-way issues. Got to give kudos to our right-of-way department. I don't know if it was upwards of 15 or 20 servitudes that were granted by those residents. So they really want the project to move forward. What I'm asking him now, though, is give us a real construction budget to this design. I've not seen those numbers yet, but I think that'll be the telltale. How far into the project do we really go? Do we really want to bid this project out? And I think we will see the benefit will be there, but we have not seen that budget number, how big of a project this is going to wind up being. So we're waiting for that information. I hope to have it in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and the other, the other question, part two of that is, are they doing a similar study like Charleston, looking downstream to see what impacts might occur from what they do at Lake Park?
Not necessarily on this one, Mr. Johnny. I believe this is more of a one subdivision, and it's designed to go right into Bayou Francois. It's not a whole lot of, it's already designed to be going into that basin. So it's just the conditions that are in the field are very substandard. And there's almost no road ditches in there, and the pipes are all buried. So that's mainly what the focus will be, is reestablishing the drainage on the road ditches to the outfalls and upsizing the pipes to the minimum standard of the parish.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Michael.
No questions, thank you.
Mr. President, you had anything to add to the drainage report?
I do have one thing else, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
We'll go into more reporting as the meetings come in. We're going currently through some upgrades in our work order system. So we're currently meeting with that team and developing the reports. So I know you guys are probably wanting some data and things, but please be patient with us and give us a little time through this transition to start developing those reports to where we get true and accurate data to you guys. But I don't want to fall short of mentioning 4 employees, and forgive me if I'm forgetting any, but Kevin Gotro, Keith Delhoma, Alan Allred, and Thad Denham. I had the pleasure of working with these guys for a really, really long time, and they've all reached retirement, and we no longer have them as employees, but I congratulate them on their achievements and hope them all the happiness in their retirement. And the work orders are progressing very well. Some of you may know or may not be familiar with the workflows right now. We currently have 14 regular drainage crews as the workflows are set right now. We have been meeting with the parish president and discussing maintenance plans moving forward, and we certainly are going to be open to adapt to change. It's obvious that we are ever evolving as a parish, and we'll be making those efforts. But just to kind of give you guys some stats, back in April of 2019, we really focused on the off-road drainage, and we were at 440 work orders that time. And right now, we're down to about 217 for the whole parish. So that's still a good-sized number, but they're going and continually going on a trend down. Our litter crews out of the vegetation department, the parish president has brought in some great ideas. And I think that the crews are seeing the morale of coming together as a team and focusing on goals in mind with that. And we're really focusing on people that are not working right now on a day-to-day job as far as like spraying herbicides. Those are the gentlemen and ladies out there getting it on the side of the streets and these road ditches and keeping this litter out of our drain systems, and they're doing a great job, and we hope to assist in any way moving forward with that. The roadside contract work, I'll give you a number on that. When that started, it was in September of 2018. It's about when the program had started. Originally, they had about 500 roadside ditch work orders at that time. And currently, we are down at roughly 160 work orders. So all those efforts have shown to make work order numbers go down, but that costs a lot of money. So the funding of that, the budgets of it all, we're certainly meeting with the administration and looking at ideas to be innovative about how to keep things moving forward and being productive to the residents of the parish. So that's pretty much my report. If you guys got any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Anything?
Just a quick question. I don't know if you have the information available. What's the amount of work orders that were done from beginning of January till now? Because you said 500 when you started, now we're at 160. What were we at the beginning of the year,
Of 2019,
of 2020?
we're at 217 off-road and 160 on-road that we still need to go out and address.
What were the numbers at the beginning of the year? You don't have that?
Yeah, I don't have them right
Okay,
now, what
that's
it
fine.
was
All right, thank
January 1st, yeah. That's what they are as of today.
Ron, appreciate the report, and the four guys that you mentioned, that's about 50 or 60 years of experience we've lost, and that's some good guys, so I'm glad you brought their names out. Who else had something?
I had one
Ms. Terry?
comment. Ron, I know that when we invested in this ditch digging project, in order to bring that number down, we committed a lot of money to that. What I would like to encourage, and I think our goal at that time was to get it even. Let's get to zero, and where we can begin a maintenance program, and then we're not playing catch-up. So I would encourage us to continue to use those contracts to get those ditches caught up, get us from 160 to zero. And then we all begin even. We're not trying to catch a backlog up. Likewise in the off-road program. I mean, I think we need to know as soon as we get to even, so that we know then we might distribute funds differently upon your recommendation, of course, and the parish presidents. But,
Yes, I would definitely have to say that we definitely need to meet with administration on both workflows, and we've started those meetings, but I will say that we need to look at the budgets of everything as far as sustainability over the next 2 to 4 to 5 to 6 years. Where are we going to be financially if we keep going at the caliber rate that we're at now? So we're going to be looking at all of that.
Well, I'll remind you that when we did this, it was not to do this permanently. It was to get to a place where we could start over with a maintenance program, and we would be at zero. So I encourage you not to give up on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Yeah, two things. One, we're going to go ahead and attempt to reach out to the council for general business so that y'all can suggest things that you're wanting information on, giving us a little bit of time. And that's a little bit my fault for not reaching out earlier. So we're going to attempt to reach out a few days prior to the meeting so we can get on general business items, just so we'll have that information for you. Second thing is, there's been a tremendous amount of work orders that have come in. I don't know if we'll ever get to zero because of the popularity of the call center and the success of the call center has generated a lot more calls. And so what we want to do is generate those reports for y'all. And so you can allow to see how many are coming in relation to how many are getting solved. I think the crews are doing a fabulous job, but the success and the promotion of the call center has generated a lot more calls. And so we're doing our best there to get to that point. But we'll be looking at across the board of all efficiencies and of getting that down as low as possible. But there is a tremendous amount of calls coming in and therefore producing more work orders.
Mr. President, if I may,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, what I'm referring to, and forgive me for perhaps not being clear, but we had a backlog, and we know what those are.
Yes.
So if we could clear that backlog and then start from what I would think is, at that point, is zero. Here's all let's start at 2020. Here's all the new incoming calls. How do we manage that and have an effective program to do so? And I think that's the direction you're going.
Yeah, what we'll
Thank
do
you.
is those reports will show existing and dated of when and how far we're catching up. So you have a time frame element there so you can see how we're catching up with that workload.
And I believe using the new system or like I say, getting that number from January 1 will give us a total of the work orders y'all have done. And I'm assuming that the amount of work orders y'all have done the last month are probably a lot more in proportion to what have been done before. But I think that's a number that would be great to see.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Just kudos. I got an email with the latest report, and it stated we're going to get those every 2 weeks now instead of once a month or whenever. Kudos for that. That's good. I know the increase in the number of calls to the center is going to generate a whole lot more work orders, so that's keeping us informed. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anything else on the drainage report? And, Mr. President, I'll lend a hand out, whatever we can do to keep this thing moving. Just a little bit of time has been established. Let's face it, the barricades have, we've been removing them. Very few roads are closed now when we get an inch, 2 inch of rain. So things are working, and whatever we can do to reach out to help each other, I think is in the best interest of the public.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to number 8, public announcement. Mr. Ron?
Yeah, this is just a public announcement that at this time, the bulkhead program is temporarily on hold until the policy is reviewed by the administration for any updates. We just wanted to make that statement.
Is there, Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman?
go ahead, Mr. Orgeron.
What are the reasons for putting this project on hold?
Yeah, I'll defer to the parish president on that.
So this is the same as with the bridges. So what happens is when we start doing bulkheads on private property where we have drainage servitudes, what we're doing is we're paying public funds for beautification and improvement of price and value. We have to be very careful with these particular projects. We'd like to put a policy in order to where there is a drainage benefit and a percentage of drainage benefit from doing these projects instead of just creating value for people. So we have to be very careful on how we spend public funds on private property. And just because we have a drainage servitude doesn't mean that we are responsible for bulkheading everything along every waterway. It would simply bankrupt Ascension Parish Drainage Department if we did anything like that, not to mention the problem with the legality of using public funds on private property.
Right.
And so there's where we want to look at the procedures, look at the policy, and that's where we get with y'all and discuss that in depth and look at the liabilities there associated with it and the possible drainage benefits. So this is a process where we're going to have a lot of dialogue and look at these issues to make sure we're not misusing public funds.
Do you have a timetable in mind as to when we're going to start this collaboration so that we can get this get these projects back underway for at least those that are really necessary?
Absolutely. We'll be sending you information prior to the meeting so that y'all have and discussions about what we come up from the legal side and get legal opinions. This issue just came up days before the agenda. So, yes, absolutely, we're on it, and we should see something in the next drainage meeting.
Do we, and again, forgive me, but I guess, have you sat back and thought, is this going to be a 1-month delay, a 3-month delay, a 2-year delay? Do we have any idea as far as that's concerned?
Depending upon how concerned y'all are with misuse of public funds. I mean, that's what we're looking at the liability of Ascension Parish government and how we move forward. So as soon as possible, obviously, but we want to make sure that we're properly spending public funds and not misusing them where we could
Certainly.
possibly be prosecuted.
So have we contacted legal already on this issue?
We have a discussion with legal, so we're working on it, working on some language. We're also reaching out to some previous drainage employees, including current drainage employees, to find out what our procedures were in the past. So we're having those internal discussions to come up with something to present to y'all to further that discussion.
Well, as this data starts to accumulate, would you have any objection to sharing that information with us on the council?
Well, that's the plan, because then
Okay.
y'all have to vote on it. So,
Right.
of course, we want to exchange the information, but we'd like to get the packet of information together and not send you fragments, obviously. Correct?
I think fragments might be
You want
of
fragments?
assistance. Yes,
Sure, I'll send you fragments.
that would be helpful. I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, do you have any examples of where we've done this with bulkheads, misuse of public funds, or where we've done
No,
bulkheads?
this is a cautionary thing, so we want to review policy to ensure that we're not. Understand?
No, I completely understand it, but I'm just making sure, so you're not saying that this was done before. In fact, our policy, we haven't been misusing public funds in the past.
Not that I know of. No, there's no indication of that. And although I know that we do not approve permitting or design. So essentially what is happening is what's requested here is that we give them funds, buy materials, and then they just go place the bulkhead wherever they want it. We don't approve design. We don't see if it's damaging or reducing capacity or increasing capacity. It could be causing a drainage problem, but we have no permitting process or approval of that, so we have no idea if this is a drainage improvement and quote, then therefore spending money on private property to enhance value, therefore misuse of public funds.
Anything else on bulkheads, Mr. Travis?
Just a quick question on the bulkheads. Have we maintained anyone's bulkhead, as far as we know?
That's something that I can't relate to in the past, and that's talking to previous drainage employees to find out, what situation has occurred and what circumstances. Due to the fact that we have no approval in the process, we're trying to deem what has previously been done and what the policy is. And since there's lack of policy, a lot of this has been done by interpretation. So we're researching that to see how it was done, what policies, because it seemed to have changed over the years and administration. So what we would like to have with y'all's cooperation is a written policy in place so that after we're gone, the people that follow us, the leaders and elected officials, will know exactly why we did something in the procedure, leaving a written record of policy and procedure so that it's not interpreted like it probably has been in the past, because it's changed a bit.
Okay, and I know we have legal looking into it, but I think we probably need to have legal or ask legal as far as if we have maintained some bulkheads, that they create some type of release for the property owner can say that it's been turned over to them and that they're responsible for it now and that the parish is not responsible for it at a later date. So is that something legal is looking at as well?
Absolutely, and that's part of working with y'all with the process of the policy, going over all those details, and that's the things that we need to hammer out. That's why I hate to put a specific time frame because we need to cover all these details. Very, very important from legal protection. So we need to cover all these details. There's a lot of exchange of information that's going to take place here.
Sure. Mr. Aaron?
Ron, do we have any bulkheads that we're putting on hold, actual projects that are being put on hold right now?
Yeah, we did have a couple this
it's 2
agenda
of them.
that came forward, and they are on hold until we get this resolved.
I mean, are those, I'm not aware of any, I don't know where they are.
Well, I would say on hold, they were being asked to be applied for. They have not asked for approval. So there's 2 or 3 landowners that want to participate in the existing program, but it's subject for review now, so we're going to hold up until we get
What is
that
the basis of their request to participate?
erosion.
Erosion. I guess that's my concern. It doesn't sound like we've ever had an issue of misuse of public funds before, and we haven't ever had any beautification issues, just doing this for the purpose of beautification. If we're holding up people from stopping erosion, and we haven't had any problems with this before, should we, continue to work on this policy? And I agree, I think we need a written policy. But if people are having erosion problems, is it the best thing to stop a program that would ease the erosion problem if we haven't had any problems before?
Well, the question is, you have erosion across every waterway. And so what do you judge the amount of erosion to where we're supposed to step in? If, for example, let's take Diversion Canal or Amite, there's tons of erosion. Are we as a parish responsible for someone who buys property to bulkhead their property because it erodes? That's a tricky situation there, because people in the past have spent their own private money to bulkhead their property. Now, are we taking a stance where we'll bulkhead everything that erodes? It's a very dangerous question, and that's something we all got to consider as we move forward.
No, I 100% agree with you on that. I'm a little concerned if we haven't had a problem with it before, that we're stopping this right now just to stop it. But, that's the concern. And I think what we need to look at is these erosion issues. Are they eroding onto people's private property? Do we know that, Ron?
It's mostly within the servitudes, right up along the shoreline of the channels. But yeah, I mean, these people own it. We don't own the servitude in most of the cases, so it is people's property with our right to maintain the drainage on. But are we obligated, as President Clinton has said, to do that everywhere in the whole parish?
Yeah, no, it's a tough question. Just, this is an administrative, they want to stop this, so that's we can live with that.
Ms. Terry, you had something?
No, I'm glad that it was clarified that we don't have any suspicion at this point that there's been some abuse of this. I think that was, I certainly misunderstood that in the initial mention of this. And so I'm glad to have that clarified. I certainly don't ever recall approving a beautification project, I can assure you. So, nor would I think any of the other gentlemen who've sat up here, both those who are currently here and those who are now gone. We would not do that. So certainly not if it was represented as such to us. So I appreciate the clarification on that. Thank Aaron for his question, and look forward to the policy and appreciate your effort.
Nothing else on bulkheads. We'll move on to number 9, and that is the bridge. Ron?
Same deal here. We're going to do public announcement that the rail car off-road bridge program is temporarily on hold until policy is reviewed for any updates by administration.
I appreciate that, but again, this right here, I'll be willing to work whatever we have to do to get this resolved pretty quick. We have some stuff that is holding back water, erosion, different things. So, and it'll help along the way. So, more than glad to work with y'all on that. Anything on the bridges? Any questions? All right, if not, we'll move on to number 10. Okay, we're gonna approval. Ron, this was with the gas.
Yes, sir. This is with approval. We're asking for approval to enter into a contract with Atmos Energy Corporation for replacing a gas line that was cut in August 2016 flood response in the amount of $44,251.18.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Terry, second by Johnny. Any discussion? Any opposition? None. Motion passed.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Ron, can this be applied back to, or is the cutoff date over for our issue going to FEMA for any recovery here?
I'd have to reach out to OEP on that and get their information, their input on that. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank
We
you.
can find out about it.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. We'll move on to number 11. This is approval. One for drainage for improvements. Ms. Tacey.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to meet everybody, so my name's Tacey Rabley. I'm an engineer in the Transportation Department. This item is regarding the intersection of Row Road at William Picklin. The previous councilman of that district requests that we did something to improve the geometry right there. Vehicles, especially trucks pulling trailers, are having a hard time making that turn. So we do have to put in, 4 drainage manholes, subsurface, a little bit of subsurface pipe so that we can put some new pavement on top of it. Also, I think kind of twofold, the manholes in the pipe will keep the road beds from washing away, which you can already kind of see that happening now. So I do know that, I don't know if Ron has a little bit more of a history with it, if any of y'all have any questions. This is just going to be part of our transportation overlay maintenance contract, so that's why I am presenting. And this is just to approve the funds. You know, you are certainly not obligated to approve these. For those who stick around for the next committee meeting, I do have a change order that incorporates these funds, so if you don't approve it, we can certainly not pass the
Motion
change
to
order.
approve.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Terry, second by Mr. Michael. Discussion.
Just a question, this
Go ahead.
is already budgeted? It's in the budget?
Well, it is now, I guess. I don't know. No, I don't believe so. This was something that was
Okay.
requested late last year. I got a proposal from the contractor. So this was just us getting approval for you. I don't believe,
We did reach out, Mr. Johnny, to Dawn Caballero with Finance. There are funds and contract payments within the drainage fund, so that's what you guys would be approving, would be to transfer those funds to RJ Daigle's contract. They're a contractor that could do this work, and basically it's a drainage improvement at that intersection. Due to enlargement of the drainage ditches, you have a very steep slope ratio at the 4 corners, and you just did an overlay on both roads. And so it's already starting to see at that intersection some drainage impediments there. So it's recommendation that we improve those four corners, and then that'll enhance that area from eroding and
Okay.
increase the benefit of the drainage right there at that corner.
Mr. Michael, you had anything?
I was just gonna say, I agree, it's in terrible condition. I
Sure,
like
sure.
this.
And I talked with Mike. Are we gonna be able to, I know coming from Tommy Moore to William Ficklin, are we gonna be able to straighten that up a little bit, or what's gonna happen at that intersection?
That is part of the intent, is to line them up a little bit regularly to where you have an intersection with four exact corners rather than kind of that little bit of a
offset.
shift it has.
Thank y'all, appreciate that. We have a motion and second. Any opposition to the motion? Not, motion passed. Thank you, Tacey.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by
Second.
Mr. Corey to adjourn, second by Mr. Johnny. Thank you.